So, Jesse, what are we doing for season 4?
Didn't we just say that? Or were you recording a whole bunch of bumps?
Jesse, we're going to be doing something special for season 4.
Are you in a loop? Do you need a factory reset?
No. For season 4, we're going to be taking your questions, your creative questions from you, our curious gamer audience.
I think would be a good thing for our curious gamer audience to know
What's that?
how to get those questions to us.
What should they do if our curious gamer audience has a creative question for us for season 4? How can they get it to us?
They can email that question to jauntymantis@gmail.com.
Yeah, so enjoy this bonus episode, and we'll hopefully be seeing your question for season 4. Welcome to the Jauntymantis. This is a podcast about tabletop role-playing games. It's a podcast where two best buds ask each other creative questions about tabletop role-playing games. I'm Matty, and with me is my co-host Jesse.
What's up, party people?
What's up, indeed, Jesse? This is a bonus episode, and I have a question. It's a weird question. It's
Oh,
not our
okay.
normal style question.
Okay.
My question is I'm going to try to pitch this idea to you.
Okay.
Unfortunately, you're not going to be able to be there for the first time that I'm going to do this. So my question is this a good idea?
Right.
I have a project that I put together kind of, I don't know, just out of nowhere. Just one day I was just like, I don't know, I think washing dishes or something, and I just thought of it and then ran into the next room and started writing it down. But I'd like to try to pitch this idea to you and say, is this worth doing, or am I wasting my time? I guess the title of this episode is Matty wasting his time? But I have an idea for what is essentially supposed to be like a one-shot experimental style game that you can do at the drop of a hat.
Okay.
So the whole point of this is like I wanted to have something I could immediately run for the group if, say, me or another GM was like, "Hey, y'all, not going to be able to run game tonight. I'm got a cold, or my child is sick, or whatever the case may be. Just can't do it tonight. Sorry." And then we're all kind of like, "Well, does anybody have anything else?"
So here's the thing.
Because I don't know if this will actually work.
Okay.
Okay, so this game uses 3.5 D&D, and
Why?
there's three reasons for that.
Okay.
Number one, it's the system I'm most familiar with.
Fair. I accept that
Okay.
premise.
So that I just wanted to start with the idea, and I was like, I need a system, something I can easily just like, modularly manipulate in order to get this idea done. I'll do that. The second, and this is probably should have been the first, is most of the original 3.x stuff from that era is just online for whatever reason. It's just because I don't know, maybe it's the open gaming license or whatever, but like all the spells, all the feats, all the classes, everything that's mechanical about that system is online. Because one of the biggest problems with running a game as a one shot is like you have to be able to explain the rules to it. And that's the third reason is most people are familiar with just the fundamental aspects of D&D. If I say magic missile, you basically have an idea of what that does, right?
Yes.
So that was the third reason.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm
So
sold.
I knew you would be resistant to it at first. But those are the reasons why. Okay. So the idea was to create like a roguelike role playing game, one in which you level quickly and you level many times throughout the gaming session, and the game is done at the end of the night, no matter what. And it's not themed like Trophy Dark, where it's like a death spiral, and this is to simulate the more crunchy aspects of D&D instead
Can
of it
I
being a story game.
can I back you up for a second?
Hmm.
Just for our listeners, in case they're unfamiliar, can you clarify roguelike?
Oh, so roguelike is like you create a character, you send them like in a video game context, you play the game, you if you die, that's it. Your character's done. In some roguelike video games, you can acquire different like objects or abilities that you can use in your next run. But most, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jesse, but most roguelike video games are like it's all randomized. You pick up any number of things. You try to make the best use of the random things you've acquired throughout the run that you're doing. And then when you die, that's it. The character's done.
Yeah,
Okay.
that is also my understanding of roguelike. To me, it was less. I think you clarified some things for me that I helped me understand why I'd want to do it as a role playing game. I think of it as the map being procedurally generated each time a run is started.
Right. So the idea, this is one of the other reasons why I wanted to use 3.x is because I think they have a pretty decent encounter building system where they're just like, this monster is challenge rating this, which means the following thing. So it's pretty easy to just open up a monster manual and be like, oh, this thing is challenge rating 3. That means a group of 4, 3 to 5 player characters could handle something as long as they're that level, that third level, right? Or whatever the case may be.
Do you
Um,
remember how it works with multiple monsters? I have
it
this
does. There's a
impression
table.
it's been forever, but I have this
Yeah,
impression that it's way more intuitive
it
than
is.
encounter building in 5e.
That's the other reason. Yes. I just again, I think this all goes under point number one, where I'm more familiar with the mechanics and ins and outs of third edition. So in order to pull this off, I was like, let's just stick with what I know, right? So another part of this idea is not just being able to have a one shot, but one thing I noticed through us playing Trophy Dark was that and I've noticed this in some of my Dungeon World games, is that I like it a lot more when the world, the setting, and if I'm being honest, even the events are being determined by the player characters. I've run 5th edition D&D games where I've been like, oh, you guys are in this part of the dungeon, and you get into this room and it's a prison, and there's these like slabs of stone, and there's bodies that have been opened up like surgically on the stone tablets, and I've said like, well, what do they look like? And then people have started coming up with ideas, and I'm like sitting there making notes because I'm like, I'm gonna bring this into the game later. Like somebody was like, "Oh, I bet these are zombies and they're going to get brought to life at some point and attack us." And I'm like, "Shit, that's a great idea." And then I start writing that down, right? And so like if I'm being honest, like I want to do as little prep as possible, and I like the writer's room experience. And that's a lot more interesting than me spending hours coming up with a game, and more of me just letting go and let the players come up with what this world is, what's happening, what the people are like as we come into contact with those elements of the game.
So it's going to use like the leading questions, like
Yes.
trophy.
Yes.
Cool, cool, cool. What's uh what's your kick in the door pitch?
That I don't know yet, other than just like this is just a one shot adventure. This is like this is a sword and sorcery style setting, where it's just like there are pockets of civilization. The world is hugely fantastical and wild. You could run into all sorts of different things. Like, um, that's basically what I had at this point.
Okay.
Is that what you were asking for, or did you have something else in mind?
No, I mean, well, I don't know that I have something necessarily in mind, but like I think one thing, if you had like a core story pitch that unites the starting point for a run,
Mm-hmm.
I
Well, the
don't know
starting
why my
points
brain
get
just went to
changed.
like you all died and this is the afterlife. Like I don't
Okay,
know.
I get what you're saying. So the starting point would be the starting point I'm going to use when I run this game next week. Because you had mentioned you're not going to be available for next week's game, so I told the group, hey, I got an experimental game I want to try out. So the beginning of the game is going to be like the player characters were all on a boat. The boat got damaged somehow, and they are all washing up on shore on this island on the onto the beach. And there's this strange old man who's like sitting on the beach, and he has like a meal prepared for them. And there's something exotic or fantastical about him. Like like he's obviously some sort of supernatural entity
Yeah.
that is going to offer them their first element. You can either go left or right,
A
basically.
real party would try and fight him.
And they can if they want. So maybe that's like the pitch, right?
Yeah, cool.
So I would be asking them, like, if it came up, if somebody, well, what were we doing on that boat? I'm like, well, you tell me. What, like, tell me about your character. Well, I don't know anything about my character. Okay, well, let's go over your basic elements, right? And maybe that's what I should talk about next, is like,
Are you
how do
you're
you
pre-making characters for him?
I am not. Everything is done randomly. So you roll for everything. And I believe I've done this in a way where we can get this done very quickly, because obviously character creation, especially for third edition Dungeons and Dragons, can it can take quite a bit of time.
Yeah.
So the way this works is that
Skill ranks.
we're not going to deal with skill ranks. We're going to
Okay.
use something that you suggested in a past episode of the Jauntymantis. So the way this works is everybody is human, and there are no classes.
Okay.
Everybody has one main class feature, and that class feature is to cast spells.
Okay.
Okay. And then all these so then you are given a set of you like you're given like a set of base ability modifiers. So you'll get 2+2s, 2+1s, a 0, and a -1. Then you roll 1d6, and that determines where you start when it comes time to assign ability scores. So like strength is 1, dex is 2, con is 3, and so on and so forth, right? So you roll your d6 when you start, and let's say you got like a 6, right? That means you started with charisma. And it's
Yeah.
okay, your +2 goes in the following order: charisma +2, strength +2, dex +1, constitution +1, right? Intelligence 0,
So yeah, it cycles through the
wisdom
order. Gotcha.
-1, right? That's how your ability scores essentially are determined. We're not going to use actual ability scores. We're going to use ability modifiers, because ability scores, who needs them?
Yes.
Okay. So you don't have a class, but you're going to roll on a short table of class features, or I'm sorry, of character features. Everybody starts with a base set of character features. Like you have 1d4 hit points to start. You do 1d4 points of damage with any kind of attack or weapon attack. You have a magic rating, which determines how many spells you can have and how powerful your spells are. You have a defense bonus, and then you have weapon proficiencies and armor proficiencies, and you have a reputation bonus. So then you roll 3 times on that table to see which things get improved. So if you hit the hit dice value, then your hit dice goes from D4 up to D6. If
Okay.
you roll on the table and get magic rating, then the power of your spells and how many spells you get goes up, right? And so on and so forth. If you roll and get weapon proficiency, your base damage from 1d4 goes up to 1d6. Like there's no proficiency with like light weapons or simple weapons or martial weapons. You're
Just
proficient
skill at
with all
weapons.
weapons. Yeah. It just determines how much damage you do with weapons, right?
Okay.
So you just quickly roll 3 times on that table, and then you get your spell casting class feature, and then you roll 5 times for 0 level spells determined randomly, and then you roll 3 times for first level spells determined randomly, and then you roll for bonus features, and you get 2 bonus features. And bonus features have been put into a short list of like toughness, which gives you 3 more hit points, or saves, which gives you a +2 bonus to one of your saving throws determined randomly, right? Stuff like that. Okay. Um, the then basically after that, you're basically ready to go. Okay. The important part here is that there's really no time for the characters to rest. So there's no short rest, there's no long rest. So this uses the recharge magic system from Unearthed Arcana. I don't know if you remember that supplement book for 3.5.
It's been a minute.
So basically the way the recharge system works is it has a set of values. When you cast a level of like a first level spell, you roll a die, and in that number of rounds, that's how long you have to wait before you can use another spell of that level.
Oh, okay.
That's basically how it works. Now, in the recharge magic system and in Unearthed Arcana, not all spells fall under that exact system, but like 90% of them do. So I just took out the ones that don't. So you get your spells randomly determined. You could end up with Cure Light Wounds. You could end up with Magic Missile. You could end up with Feather Fall or whatever. You know what I mean? It's up to you how to make them useful, right? And then the last piece of the puzzle is something I'm stealing from the Cypher system, which is the ciphers. But I'm
Okay.
calling them charms in this game. So everybody can hold, and if for the listener in the Cypher system, they have this really cool thing, which is you get these single use, basically magical items called ciphers, and they have a randomly determined power level. You could end up with something like a grenade or a cure potion or something that helps you like fly. There's tons of really cool stuff. In D&D through 3.5, we're basically talking about wands, potions, and scrolls, with the wands only having one use. And so then every character basically can hold up to two, and I'm calling them charms instead of ciphers in this game. So then you get assigned some random charms to start with as well. And then over the course of the adventure, over the course of the one shot, you'll pick up random charms, essentially. So this will be in the form of like healing potions or spider walk potions or scrolls or whatever the case may be. Okay. So that, and then every time you level, you improve all of these things. So
Do you like roll on a table or does everything just stack up one?
so in at least in the rough draft version, you're going to roll randomly. In the if this first test goes well, the way it will work moving forward is you will get experience points, and you can spend, like, let's say, two experience points to get a new feature, or you can spend four experience points to further develop the one that you have.
Okay.
Because in the future version, there'll be more than just spells as your class features. There'll be all the other stuff that's in 3.x D&D, like rage and favored enemy and animal companion, wild shape, all that shit. But just to keep it simple and just to test the idea, it's spells. So when you level, you basically level up in spells. You get a base set number of random spells, and you get a new bonus feature. Um, so on and so forth. So you like when you level up, it's done like very quickly.
So how's that work with your like attack bonus?
Everybody's base attack bonus starts at +0. Every time everyone levels up, you get +1 base attack bonus.
Because 3.5 doesn't have banded accuracy and like the slider is armor class.
So we're using a defense bonus instead of an armor class,
Okay.
which is an optional rule in, again, our Unearthed Arcana, which you're familiar with it from the D20 Star Wars game. So in this game, everybody has a defense bonus, which basically contributes in place to of an armor class. So you still have to hit that set number. But it's not determined by what kind of armor you put on. You could have no armor, but have a high defense bonus and still get the same result.
Okay.
There is an armor proficiency in that initial set of randomly selected features, but that armor just provides you with damage reduction instead.
Okay. Well, yeah, I damn it, I knew this was gonna happen. I want to play this.
So the question is, like from the start of the episode, should I do this? Like, what do you think? Do you have
No,
any
yeah,
notes?
you should definitely do this. The area that I'm anticipating the wheels flying off and
Mm-hmm.
the cart crashing through the front window of a video store
Oh, wow.
is um is going to be in the like the to hit the nitty gritty.
Really?
details of like so the thing I love about 5e is bounded accuracy. You don't have
Yeah.
to calculate all these bonuses.
Yes.
All the stats of the monsters have all that bonus stuff and calculating and how that progresses with levels baked in. So altering that
Yeah.
is where the peril is, but it's probably really easily overcomable.
Well, the fighter in third edition has a starting base attack bonus of +1,
Mm-hmm.
and then that goes up by +1 every level. Okay.
Yeah, if you're okay, so if you're leveling fast though,
Mm-hmm.
like by the time you get to fifth level, you're probably not going to be actually on parity with a CR5 monster.
Okay. And the fix for that is that you lower the parity,
Oh,
which
okay.
is
You've
which is
already
the
thought of
thing.
it. Okay, good.
Yes, which is the thing I'm working on now because you have to take a lot of things into account. So the average character for this game is going to be nowhere close to as powerful as the fighter or the wizard or the druid in 3.5 D&D. So what I've been doing now is like, so instead of starting with like a challenge rating 1 monster, I'm starting with a challenge rating half or like a couple of challenge rating quarter creatures that I can put together to kind of like test it out at first and see how bad this is going to be. But I'm trying to go one challenge rating lower than your typical encounter build because the other part of this problem um in the video store window accident example you're giving is that the recharge magic system makes characters way more powerful than they're supposed to be.
Okay.
So if you get the right spells, you're going to destroy things. Like if you were to get cure light wounds, you can heal the party up in a matter of seconds, outside of combat. And inside of combat, you just have to wait, like a 1d6 rounds before you can use another first level spell. But if you survive combat, you can just heal everybody up to full, no problem. So like there is that weird balance issue of like how far is this going to swing in either direction, but I'm hoping that's going to be part of the fun.
Yeah, no, that's cool. That's yeah, I was just trying to be helpful with that, not actually say like you shouldn't do it because that's where it's gonna explode. It's like here's what I would look out for. That no, that sounds super cool. I hope we can talk a bonus episode about how it goes
Yes,
or how
yes.
it went.
Yeah. So that's what I'm going to do for next week's game. We're just going to try it out, see what happens. And
Cool.
like I said, the reason why I'm using third edition, that second reason, is because I can say, okay, you got Magic Missile as your spell. Here's a link to a website that has all the information for Magic Missile from 3.x on it. Like,
Yeah, the SRD is just out there.
yeah, it's just out there. So it's like I don't have to like force people to buy books or I don't have to do any extra work. I just have to be like, just go to this website, look for Magic Missile, and you're good.
Cool. Well, that's awesome, man.
Thanks.
Go for it. Do it.
That's number Wang.
That's number wang. And if you also have number wang, you can write us about it at jauntymantis@gmail.com or tweet at us at Wantymantis. Yeah, just at Wantymantis. That's how Twitter works, or
Mm-hmm.
X, or whatever it's called these days.
For sure.
And you can also open the About This podcast. And if you're on Spotify, there's a little review option. Please give us a 5-star review.
Jesse, would you also like our Apple Podcast listeners to review us on Apple Podcasts, seeing it
Yeah,
how
if you
it
listen
is
on
still
Apple,
the
if you could
gold
help us
standard?
out, if you could help us out with just a star review, you don't have to write any words, but they help.
More than 1 star, preferably, right, Jesse?
Yeah, preferably all the mantises.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah. Listener, this is all Jesse is asking you to do. Review the podcast wherever you found it, give it the maximum rating you can, and in the comments, put all the mantises.
yes, that's how I'll know you've received the message. And if you're on Stitcher, I guess like are we on Stitcher?
I don't even think Stitcher's a thing anymore.
Is it not?
I don't know.
We should look into that.
Stitcher's a really bad platform with a horrible history of like putting in ads. Like, at least that's why I didn't use them before, is because they had this weird thing of just suddenly placing ads in the middle of your stuff. I'm sure Spotify does that as well, but Spotify has become a more reliable platform, for people to listen to podcasts. So maybe I don't know what I'm talking
If you've
about.
got a paid Spotify account, they don't put ads in, but I'm sure they do for the free.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't get any of the revenue for those. Well, joke's on that advertiser, to be honest. So,
One day we may want to actually try to generate revenue, at least to cover some of the costs and pay Shannon for her work.
yes. I really want to get stickers. I really want
Yep.
to get stickers made.
That's right. So listener, you can write all the Mantises and Jesse will be very happy.
Please. Okay. So get out there and make a fantasy heartbreaker with a really great name.
I'm working on the name.